Hey there, my name's Nicole Lynn, and this is my channel where I talk about all things Disney. Duh. And welcome to this exciting segment of Own Your Magic, my 8-part video series about the Disney College Program application, filled with tips to help you get accepted into the DCP. So today we're going over Disney College Program frequently asked questions. So let's go ahead and get started. Once again, friends, welcome to this part 2 bonus of Own Your Magic, my Disney College Program application tip series. Just so you guys know, this is a 6-part video series with now 2 bonus videos for you, all about the Disney College Program application process. We go in depth going over it and making sure that you rock your application and ultimately get you accepted to the DCP. So I've done a terrible job introducing myself in each of these videos. So just so you know, hi, if you're new, my name's Nicole. I'm an alumni of the Disney College Program. I did Fall Advantage 2018, where I worked at the Magic Kingdom as a skipper on the Jungle Cruise. And yes, it was amazing and I loved it. And no, I don't have any jokes because they are all about jungle and you will be really confused if I just randomly told you one. You would be in denial. If you have rode Jungle Cruise, you would get that. Anyway, but yeah, so I'm really excited about this video today. And before we get started, I do have some disclaimers that I need to go over for you guys. So just bear through those disclaimers with me. All right, guys, really fast, I just have 3 disclaimers I need to go through with you. So the first disclaimer is that I cannot guarantee you're going to be accepted to the Disney College Program. I sincerely hope these videos are helpful and these tips ultimately get you accepted, but overall, I just cannot promise. I wish I was like a fairy godmother. I could wave my magic wand and get everyone accepted, but I cannot. So just realize that this is not a guarantee you will be accepted. My second disclaimer is that I am not a Disney College Program recruiter and I am not associated with Disney College Program recruiting. These tips are based on my personal experiences, talking to other cast members about their experiences and things that have been posted on the recruiters' social media websites or on their personal social media accounts. And disclaimer number 3 is that the Disney College Program application process is subject to change at any time. So I'm making these videos in 2019. So if you are watching these like in the future, just make sure this information is still relevant. Oh, finally, those disclaimers are over, thank goodness. And just a reminder that I'm not doing the giveaway on these last 2 bonus videos because I'm on a budget. But if you guys want 6 chances to win a $25 Disney gift card, then go ahead and head over to my other videos and check those out. And it will have all the information on there for you on that. And just so you know, you have the end of the month, so you have till the end of August to enter 6 times for a $25 Disney gift card, which is awesome. Also, if you are applying for the Spring 2020 program, make sure you drop your Instas in the comments for me. I will happily follow. Let me know if you are going to be doing a vlog. I would love to subscribe to your channel, follow your ventures. All I ask is that in return, you also follow me on Instagram and make sure you guys like this video, give me a big thumbs up, and subscribe to my channel. I know this is going to be a long one. Like it is. There are a lot of questions that we are going to go over. Thankfully, I did not get a lot of questions in my comments, so hopefully that meant the videos were super helpful for you guys. So definitely, again, if you have not checked the other 6-part videos, definitely go back and check that out. I promise it's going to be jam-packed with information for you to help you out. But today we are just going to be going over general questions, getting more back into specifics, a few things I forgot. And then at the end, I'm actually going to have some videos about like the DCP in general that just people ask a lot. So make sure you stay tuned for that. I have a cup of coffee because again, this is going to be a really long one, so you'll probably see me occasionally sipping on that. And I'm going to try not to spill this all over me, but I probably will, yay. But this is actually, I'm going to try and show it to you without spilling this coffee. This is my cast member mug that I got from Company D, which is like the Disney cast member store that you go to. And so if you get accepted, you could go and shop at Company D and get fun cast member items such as this. So yay, cheers. So go ahead and grab some coffee, grab a notebook, and let's get started. So I did want to mention that there are some things that I don't know about. I'm not the person to ask, so I just wanted to start off the video by saying these are the things that I will not be able to answer questions about. So if you have questions about these things, you unfortunately need to go find somebody else who can answer your question for you, who is not me. So those things are Disneyland. I do not know a lot of information about the Disneyland program because I only did Disney World, and all I can tell you about Disneyland is that you apply for it the same time as you apply for Disney World. I know it is harder to get into. It is much smaller than the Disney World program, so you are more likely to get into Disney World. And I also know that Disneyland is more expensive. I'm sure it has something to do with it being a smaller program and the fact that it is in California, like basically you're living almost in LA, so it's pricier, but if you're really passionate about it, definitely look more into it. But again, I am not your resource for that. Another thing I really don't have any information for you guys about is the international program. If you didn't know this, Disney actually has a college program specifically for people who do not live in the United States, and it's called the international program, which if any of you are not from the United States and you're watching this right now, I want to say, hey, that's awesome that you are here on my channel, but unfortunately I do not have any really good information for you. I will say that I loved working with international students during the Disney College program, which unfortunately we didn't get any of them at Jungle because English has to be your first language, which of course there are countries in the international program where English is their first language, but basically nobody in the international program gets put there. So I got to still meet some, but I never really worked with them and was able to ask international students questions. So I'm sorry. Another thing I don't have a lot of information about is professional internships. I've done a little bit of research, but I've just never really took the time to, I've just never really been interested in doing a professional internship. I haven't had the time to commit to a year of doing a professional internship, which some of them are 6 months, but most of them are looking for a year. So there are a lot of great YouTubers out there who have done PIs, and there's a lot of great information on the Disney Programs blog, so go check that out. But I am not your resource. And finally, the thing I don't know about is I don't know anything about character performing. I did not work in entertainment. I did not go to a character audition. I don't know if CPs can do shows and parades and all that jazz. I am not your resource. So if you have any questions about those, so it was Disneyland, international program, professional internships, and character performing, I am not your resource and I cannot answer those questions. All right, so let's get into the questions that I actually can answer because I promise I have a lot of those. So I do want to say that the DCP blog website, they actually have a frequently asked questions segment. If you guys feel like maybe I missed something or you still have questions you need answered, you can always go over there. Also, you can check out the Facebook page, which if you're not on the Facebook page, all you have to do is go over to Facebook. And if you're applying for the Spring 2020 program, all you have to do is look up Spring 20, or it's going to be Disney College Program, Spring Advantage 2020. There are two right now. I am personally loving the one that has a picture of Epcot ball with yellow flowers, and people are so helpful on there, and most of them they are more than willing to help answer your questions. And when in doubt, definitely ask a recruiter on Twitter or use the the question thing that they have on your dashboard now, which I actually really like. It seems like they get back to you a lot faster than they did with the email. But you can go into your dashboard and they do have a place for you to submit requests if you have questions. Okay, so this first section, I wanted to just go over some general tips of things I just forgot. As I was going through editing, I was like, oh, I forgot to put that in there. It just didn't make it in my notes somehow, or it was an afterthought. So really quickly, we're just gonna go over a list of things I forgot in my other videos. So the first one is don't harass the recruiters. This was more on my general tips where it talked about social media and how you should be active on social media during your process. It's really helpful for you to be informed and connect with other people. However, some people are a little much when it comes to like commenting on the recruiters page. Most of the recruiters, you're gonna find them on Twitter. And some people are just a little too aggressive. So it's great to post that you're excited. It's great to ask questions or just make polite comments to them in general, but make sure that you are being cautious about what you're saying. And I do want to give a shout out to recruiters. I don't know if recruiters even watch these videos or watch any videos about the application process, but thank you for everything that you do as recruiters. You guys make magic and we love you, but leave the recruiters alone, people. Like, do not harass them. They hold your fate in their hands, so be kind to them. Another tip that I forgot to mention is that I'll have this also linked down below in my show notes. There's gonna be a lot linked in the show notes today. Is you can actually go and look up the different roles that Disney offers, which I kind of mentioned in my application video if you didn't know what the roles are. But a good reason to do this is if you have a role that you are really passionate about and you just really want to do it, go look at that role, because it's going to tell you what skills and responsibilities are required for that role, and it would be really good to integrate that into your work experience section. So like if you just really want to do merchandise and you see that merchandise people have to have a lot of like customer service, but you also have to stand for long periods of time and stuff like that, you would want to mention that in your application, because it already shows that you possess the skills that that job requires. So if you are really passionate about PhotoPass, go look at what PhotoPass is required and try and make that look like what your current work experience is. Obviously, don't lie and don't make up work experience. Like if that is not something you've done before or something you have experience with, like don't make it up. But if you can kind of like, oh, this requires sitting at a desk for a long time, I've done that before, I'm gonna put that in my work experience section. Another thing I forgot to mention is when you're taking your web-based interview, yes, it is a time test. However, in between each of those 4 sections that I talk about in that video, you actually are gonna have a moment to kind of like stop, because you have to like click keep going. It's not gonna like time out and just start the test again. It's actually going to give you like a moment to stop. So what I suggest in those like 4 little sections is take 3 deep breaths. So just like, you know, you're gonna go in through your nose, out through your mouth, just 3 deep breaths. It helps so much. And especially if you're freaking out or you're feeling really lost and confused and you're panicking, this is just kind of a great way to like gather yourself, bring it back in, and just, okay, you're cool. And remember that it gets easier as you go. So just, that's a really good time to encourage yourself and just be like, okay, you made it through that section. This one's gonna be even easier and I'm gonna rock it. So definitely recommend taking deep breaths between your sections. So another thing I forgot was to thank your recruiter after your phone interview. It's really important in general to remember your manners. Some people recommend saying yes sir, no sir, or yes ma'am, no ma'am. I don't know, I just find that kind of like, I think it's important for it to feel natural. Like it still needs to be professional, but it should feel like a good conversation. So if you are somebody who is used to doing that and having those mannerisms, absolutely. Otherwise, just be polite, and definitely at the end, make sure that you are thanking them for their time. So I use Judy as the name example. So hopefully you will remember your recruiter's name and write it down in your notes, and you'll be like, thank you, Judy, so much for talking with me today. I really appreciated your time, and I hope you have an excellent day. Something along those lines. Make sure you do that at the end. Also, along with the phone interview, I forgot to mention that they are probably going to ask you hypothetical questions. These are very hard to prepare for. I think one that I've heard pretty much everyone gets is like, what would you do if a child gets injured? Don't freak out during those hypothetical questions. And whenever you have a question that you kind of need a second to think about it, it is okay to leave a pause. Like don't be audible with your pauses. Like don't be like, I would, yeah. Don't do that. That's not great. So if you need to take like 5 to 15 seconds to pause, that's fine. And I know it's going to feel really awkward having a silence on the phone, but you are so much better having like that awkward moment to collect your thoughts and then speak. One more thing I wanted to mention is that alumni, if you are applying and if for any reason you're a little nervous that something might make it so that you're not going to be accepted, that was phrased really awkwardly. Like if for some reason maybe you had a safety reprimand, maybe your attendance wasn't great during your program, maybe you think you have an issue with costuming, any of those things, you are able to go into the dashboard and fill out that request where you can email them and just ask them if you can have a recruiter check your rehire code, because actually when you leave the program, Disney gives you either a good rehire code or a bad one. So if for some reason you're nervous you're going to have a bad rehire code where they won't rehire you, just email a recruiter. I had a friend, she is reapplying for the program and she termed early and she was a little nervous that because she left early she was not going to have a good rehire code, even though she had waited the 6 months she needed to after leaving. So she emailed a recruiter. The recruiter got back to her and said she actually had a costuming issue that she had missed, because costuming is supposed to email you about that, but I don't know if she just missed that email, what happened. And so she emailed costuming got that settled for her. Later, she went back to the recruiter and they said, great, you now have a good rehire code. So that never means you are officially going to be accepted just because you have a good rehire code as an alumni, but if you're nervous, you can always do that and they'll check it for you. Just try and give them your PERNer number from obviously when you were in the program. That helps them out a lot. So now we're going to start off with general questions about the application. Then we're going to go into a few in each specific step. And then at the end, I'm going to do those general questions about the DCP that don't necessarily have anything to do with the application, just questions that a lot of people ask before they are applying for the program. For general questions, one is what is the normal time frame for me to go through this process, and what is submission? Those kind of go together. So first of all, the answer to that first question is there is no such thing as a normal time frame in this process. There are people who go through it in weeks, there are people who go through it in months. Everyone's process is different, is basically what I'm trying to say. I kind of went over this a little bit in my part 2 where I talked about beware of DCP FOMO, which is fear of missing out, if you don't know what FOMO is. And just the importance of that video was to teach you that everybody's process is different, and it doesn't mean because something's not happening for you, it won't happen, and it doesn't mean because you're moving along really fast, you will be accepted. So what submission is kind of people consider it DCP jail, where you kind of get stuck in submission and the recruiters get to be the jailers that pull you out of jail if they choose to. Recruiters are not jailers, they are wonderful, but that's kind of what people refer to it as. So basically, 2 things could happen when you submit your Disney College Program application. The first thing that could happen is on your dashboard, you can move on and they'd be like, hey, great, your application looks wonderful. We're gonna send you a web-based interview and you will probably receive it within the week. The second thing that could happen is instead of receiving your WBI, you're going to be put in application submitted, this is what people call submission. So that basically means that you are kind of on a wait list. Your application wasn't as strong as other people's application according to the system, and you are now just waiting. Now, in the old days, back in the old days of DCP application, submission basically meant you were not accepted. Most people never moved out of it and they were just waiting to be told they weren't accepted. It has changed, I believe, in the last 3 years. I was personally somebody who was stuck in submission for 4 months. I waited a very long time, was stuck in that application submitted box, and got accepted the second to last day. So it doesn't mean because you are in submission, you will never get pulled out. Just be aware that your process could be a little bit longer and you will probably have to do a little bit more waiting in submission. So it does happen. It is a little frustrating and a little scary, but it is not the end of the world. Of course, there are the people who never get pulled out of submission and they will ultimately get a no longer in consideration email. Sometimes they even get it on the last day, which is unfortunate. I'm really sorry if that happens to you, but just be aware that if you see that right away, it doesn't mean that your process is over. Like, it's going to be okay. You still could be pulled out. So hopefully that answered your question about submission. And now we're going to move on to the next question, which is, how do I know if I'm qualified, or what if I'm not currently in classes but I'm enrolled? I was seeing a lot of questions along these lines. Basically, you just need to be enrolled in a class. One person asked, their class was starting like not till September, so they wanted to know if they could still apply in August even though the classes hadn't started. As long as you are enrolled in a class, or I believe it is up to 12 months now after graduation, you are eligible to apply. There are other things involved, like being 18 years or older. So I do have the qualifications linked down below. So just double check that if you want to make sure you are qualified for the program. So one question I've seen, if people have applied before and got an offer, or they've done the program before, is if I received an offer and declined it, or if I did the Disney College program and self-term, does that hurt my chances of being accepted in the future? And the truth is no. This has been answered by recruiters on several occasions, that no, this definitely does not hurt your record with Disney. They have way too many people moving through this program to keep track of that. So no, if you have applied before, got an offer, and for some reason had to turn it down, that's not going to hurt your chances. And same thing with Disney, is actually a very forgiving company. So if you had to leave early, you basically had to quit your program before it ended, you should still have a good rehire code as long as there weren't other issues there, and be able to reapply and hopefully get accepted and go back. Another question I see a lot of people asking is, if I get an offer, how long do I have to accept it? So if you guys are a little confused, just so you know, if you get accepted to the Disney College program, they're going to send you an email. It's going to say, yay, congratulations, you got accepted. And it's going to have your offer in there with like your role. So for me, when I got accepted, they were like, hey, congratulations, Nicole, you've been accepted to the DCP. You've been offered the role of attractions. So you're going to have 7 days to accept that offer. And basically, if you don't accept it in those 7 days, you are automatically not accepted. You've basically declined by not answering, but you do have those 7 days to, 1, accept the offer, and 2, pay your non-refundable, let me be clear, non-refundable housing fee. So if you find out later you can't do the program, they will not refund you that. It was $350 when I applied, and that was like a year, I accepted that like a year and a half ago, so it could have increased, hopefully not a lot. And again, if you are doing the Disneyland program, I know that your fee is much higher than that, but just be aware that you have that week to figure it out, make sure that you are going to do the program, and you accept it, and then you pay that non-refundable housing fee. And I believe what that covers is your first week of rent. So the week that you arrive and you're just doing like training and casting and all that, which that is a whole nother video, I believe that that is covering your first week of rent. And the last general question I have for you guys is, what if my family doesn't want me to do Disney? So I feel really badly for people who are going through this situation. Thankfully, my family they are huge Disney fans, and of course I got to take my husband with me to my program, who is very supportive, obviously, for actually going with me. But I understand that some of you, your family views this as you maybe being immature, wanting to run off to Disney and play in the parks all the day long. And I would say I'm really sorry, first of all, that you're going through that. And let me be your Disney family for you and say, yay, I'm so excited for you, and I'm so proud of you wanting to do this. So if you are trying to kind of get your family on board, maybe it's also friends that are like, why do you want to do that? It's probably good to try and maybe show them some of the information. You can either show them the website, find a good article there. You can show them the DCP YouTube channel. So just so they can get a better feel, like this is not just you going and taking a semester off of school so that you can have fun at Disney, which trust me, you will have fun, but Disney is a work hard, play hard company. It truly is. Like, you are working a lot. Working at the Jungle Cruise was the hardest job that I've ever had, and I loved it, but it was still hard work, and I learned a lot from the experience. Disney has a lot more to offer you than just working a ride or working at a merchandise location. You know, they have learning opportunities. You can network with leaders there. You can learn CPR for free. They even have, I believe they've gotten rid of the actual classes, but I believe the seminars are still there. Like, they really are, in a weird way, kind of like a college at Disney, just not all of the classes. I would also argue that Disney looks amazing on a resume. I literally, when I went to apply for Starbucks, my manager said, I called you because you had Disney on your resume. And I know that's just a job for Starbucks, but it really is a great conversation piece, because I know when I went and applied for my internship that I'm loving right now and actually has to do with my degree, they knew I worked at Disney, and it was a great conversation during my application. They were just like, oh, what was that like? And I love talking to people about it. Like, it is something that stands out. So if your family is a little iffy on there, just make sure you're telling them benefits like that. Like, there are so many more things to it than just working in the parks and playing in the parks. So now we're gonna talk about the online application, some frequently asked questions on there. So one question I got was, what if I don't know my GPA, or what if I have a bad GPA? So I will say that you do have to put your GPA in the dashboard. I really don't know how much they're checking this or how important this is. I have never heard a recruiter mention it when they talk about like things that they look at when they are thinking about hiring people. So you can put it in there, but honestly, if you don't know your GPA, I guess estimate or just pull a GPA from a previous semester. It's not like because you don't have a 4.0 Disney won't hire you. That's not what's going to happen, so don't really be too worried about it. Another question I've seen is, do I have to be paid for the job for it to be considered previous work experience? Well, I believe that's why under there they word it as work experience and volunteer experience, and that's because experience doesn't mean that you had to make money from it. Like, as long as you have given time and gained skills from it, I think it's great to put down. So don't think, oh, I didn't get paid for this, I can't put this in my previous work experience. Maybe you have done an unpaid internship, maybe you've been an instructor in a class. Anything in that work experience box is going to help you, and the more work experience, the better you look. So I would say if it's something you did not get paid for, but you can consider it a job or volunteering, something where you committed time, absolutely put that in your work experience. I wanted to go over roles a little bit more because I've had some new things come up, and I didn't realize this, but there is something called density roles, which I briefly talked about in my applications video. That was part 3. And I didn't realize this, but those first 4 roles that are separate from the rest of them are called density roles. Apparently, the DCP accepts more people in these roles than they do any other role. So the 4 density roles, I guess, are custodial, quick service food and beverage, housekeeping, and lifeguard. So the 2 like rumors going on behind density roles are that, one, if you want to get accepted to the program, you have to show interest in these, otherwise your chances of being accepted are greatly reduced. And 2, if you show any interest in these roles, even if it's a low interest, you are basically guaranteed to get it. Okay, so I can debunk this for you guys. So when I applied, I showed no interest in custodial and quick service food and beverage. I knew that those were 2 roles, one I didn't want, but also 2 roles I would not do well. And because as far as custodial goes, meat and bodily functions, not so great. I will pass out at the sight of blood, so no, that was a no-go for me. And then for housekeeping and lifeguarding, I actually showed low interest for both of those. So I did show interest in 2 of them, but it was low. And the other thing to keep in mind is that I had a lot of other interests. So I would say I had at least 5 interests below, and I would think I had like 3 or 4 moderate interests as well. So I had a lot of other interests, but I showed low interest in those 4 density roles. So with that being said, yes, I guess if you really, really want to get accepted, consider showing high interest in these. But the main rule to keep in mind when it comes to roles on your application is do not show interest in a role you do not want or you are not going to accept, because they can give you any role you show interest in, even low. We've been over that. And like, don't try and like bargain your way in, like, oh, well, I'm just gonna show like low interest in roles, but they're probably not gonna accept that. They're probably not gonna offer them to me because I have other high interest ones. Like, I would not gamble with the system. So if you're not going to accept it, do not show any interest in it. Obviously, it's okay to show low interest in something, be like, well, if they had to put me there, like, I would accept it. And moderate is like, I have things I want more, but I would be okay with it. And high is like, please put me here. Like, that's how you should be ranking it. And just realize that yes, showing more interest in roles is more likely to get you accepted. However, you want to love your program, and you don't want to be put somewhere where you're not going to be using your strengths, and you're honestly just not going to enjoy, because you work a lot in this program. I need to stress that you work so much, and if you hate your job, it's not gonna be fun. But in yesterday's video, I did go over that work experience section for you guys. So if you have any questions about filling in work volunteer experience or including a resume on your application, make sure you go check out that video. I'm pretty sure that will be on there for you, because it was like super in-depth. So one thing I did want to mention on your web-based interview is something I didn't really go in depth with on my part 4, which was over the web-based interview. And that is that I did say that it is a pass or fail test, but just wanted to like let you know that if you take your web-based interview, one of 2 things are going to happen. So the first thing that could happen is you are going to be taken to a browser, and it's going to say, yay, congratulations. It looks like you are going to be moving on to a phone interview. We'll email you with information. So then within the hour, you should probably receive an email about scheduling your phone interview. However, the other thing that could happen after your web-based interview is you'll be taken to a separate browser, and it'll say, we are so sorry, but it looks like you are not what we're looking for at this time. We apologize, but you are no longer in consideration. So that would mean that you had failed the web-based interview. And I think, heard of people actually not even being able to finish. Like, it takes them to that browser early, saying that they were not accepted, but some people still make it to the end and they don't pass. But I'm really sorry if that happens to you. Just so you know, the web-based interview gets a lot of people. That is where a lot of people's journey ends for their application. But if you don't want to fail your web-based interview, do make sure you go check out that part 4, where I give you lots of tips on how to pass your WBI, because I believe in you and I know you can do it. Okay, so now a few questions about the phone interview. One question I saw are, what are some good notes for me to write during my phone interview? And I thought one that was really cute was to write down smile, just to remind you to be smiling, because even though you're not talking to them face to face, actually, if you remember to be smiling, your tone sounds friendlier and just nicer, and I don't know, like a little bit more upbeat. You don't need to worry so much about notes unless you just really think you're nervous and you're gonna lose like your train of thought during your interview. I don't think it is wise to have like pages of notes that you're flipping through. Just make sure, if you want to have a notebook in front of you to write things down, or you just want to have a few bullet points jotted down so that you're keeping track of like the points you want to make, that's great. But don't worry about having like more than a page of notes for you to look back on. It really is not even so much about what you're saying, but making sure that you are capable of having a conversation. Another question I saw is, am I able to request a certain work location or like a certain attraction to work at, and when would I do that? So I'm actually going to use Jungle Cruise as an example, because I've had several people contact me, say, hey, my dream role is to be a Jungle Cruise skipper. What would you suggest I do? So this is just kind of a good example to show, if you have any role that you're really interested in doing, here is how you would try and request this role. So what I've been telling people for Jungle Cruise skipper is that, first of all, obviously whatever role that is under. So for Jungle Cruise, it's an attraction role. So when you fill out your online application, you would want to show high interest in attractions. So that's true for whatever role you are interested in. As I mentioned before, it would be good for you to go over to that website that I have linked below that tells you like what is required of each role. So you would look up what is required for an attractions cast member. So that can be things like, are you comfortable with public speaking? Are you okay with standing for long periods of time? Have you worked a job where safety was important? I don't know. It can be, you would want to go look that up and try and include that in your work experience section, so it shows that you already have the skills possessed. For Jungle Cruise specifically, I know that a lot of people had some type of theater, public speaking, debate background, so it would be good to mention that in your work experience as well. So then what you would do next is during your phone interview, they're going to ask you a lot of role-based questions, and they're going to be a little bit unclear as to what the role could be applying to. So obviously, if you want to work at Jungle Cruise and they say, are you comfortable with public speaking? You would want to be like, yes, I am comfortable with public speaking. I actually have a theater background and I'm really great at memorizing lines. Like, you would want to try and throw those skills that are mentioned in the skills section, and even skills that you know you will need to use for that attraction or for that location in your phone interview. Like, don't put it somewhere like it doesn't belong. Like, make sure it fits in naturally with the conversation, but it's cool to mention that. Then at the end, they're going to ask, do you have any questions for me? This is a really great time to mention this, but this is how I would do it. You would just say, hey, I understand that when you place people, it really is about what locations are available. I just want to let you know that my dream role is to be a Jungle Cruise skipper. I would greatly appreciate being placed there. If you can make a note or make it possible for me to be placed at Jungle Cruise, I would really appreciate it. You just want to make sure like they understand that you are not expecting it, that it is just kind of like a fun, polite side note. And you can do this with things like maybe you just are really passionate about working at a park, like Magic Kingdom is your favorite park, and just kind of slightly mention like, hey, I really like Magic Kingdom. If I can be located there, I would really appreciate it. But it's also really good to mention that you are more than happy to do the program. You will happily accept any position, but you would appreciate being put there, because I think recruiters really do enjoy making some magic. And I know 3 people at Jungle Cruise who requested it for their phone interview and they did get it, but just realize it is never guaranteed. But it's kind of like that, it doesn't hurt to mention it, and if it works out, great, and if it doesn't, then try not, like, don't be disappointed, because you're in the Disney College program anyway, so that's awesome. But that's how I would suggest, if you're looking for a specific location, that's what I would suggest doing. It's crazy that some of you could be potential skippers. That's really exciting. Yes, if you are a skipper and you find out like you get that as your location, please let me know. I'm so excited to meet fellow skips. So those are all of my like questions about the application process that we went over, and now I just have frequently asked questions about the Disney College program if you guys want to stay tuned for that. And the first question is about housing, and just generally, does Disney have housing? How much is it, and do I have to live in it? So yes, Disney does have housing. They're like apartments. I believe that depending on which housing complex you are in, that'll determine how many roommates you have. So most people are going to live in an apartment that is anywhere from 6 to 8 people, I believe. And usually there's like multiple rooms, so usually they'll have 2 or 3 roommates in your room. And the rent that you are going to pay is going to depend on which complex you are living in. So there are 4 of them. There is Vista Way, which I believe is the cheapest, Chatham, Patterson, and Commons. That's it. Commons is the most expensive because it's the newest, which I've heard it's really nice, and it has like washers and dryers in the unit, but it's expensive. It's a little bit more expensive. I believe the rent is anywhere from $110 to $130 a week. So basically the way Disney does that, it's going to automatically take it out of your paycheck. So your checks are going to look a little smaller than you were hoping, but that does happen. So you can choose to live in a cheaper complex. No, you do not have to live in housing. You can choose to opt out, and then obviously that is your responsibility to get an apartment. One thing I've seen that so many people ask and like they are freaking out about on the Facebook page is like they post a picture of their tattoo and they're like, I have this tattoo, can I work at Disney? Just so you know, I know so many cast members who have tattoos. Yes, you can work at Disney. You cannot have any visible tattoos while you are at work. So where your tattoo is located could determine where they place you, because there are just certain jobs that if you have a tattoo somewhere on your body, you may not be able to be placed there because you would have, your tattoo would be visible. And Disney does not allow you to cover tattoos with waterproof makeup. It does have to be with like a shirt or one of those like sleeves. You can't rely on makeup to cover it up. Your costume actually has to be like, you have to use clothes to cover it up. My husband has 4 tattoos, and he has one on his forearm. He worked as a bus greeter. They had like these short sleeve collared shirts, so he bought Under Armour, like those white sleeves to wear to cover it up, and it was fine. So the only thing that's important if you have tattoos is that you are willing to cover them up, and just be honest about Disney, like what, like the location of your tattoos. They will ask you that in your phone interview. So I believe as long as you are willing to cover it up, yes, you can work for Disney and you don't need to worry about it. Another question I saw is, can I take classes during the Disney College program? So when I was there, they actually offered classes through the program, and I was told that our program was the last one that they were doing that. They have changed it since. However, they still have something, I think it's called independent study. It's something along those lines where if you decide you want to take classes, like obviously they would probably need to be online classes because of your work schedule, but if you want to take online classes through your university, you just apply for independent work study. And what Disney does is, I believe they take out 4 hours of your schedule every single week, like the same 4 hours, and that gives you time to complete classwork and do your homework. So that would mean like every Tuesday from 1 to 5, they wouldn't schedule you because that's your, or they would like give you the same day off every single week. Like when I was taking a class, my class was on Monday. I always had Mondays off for the 12 weeks of the class. I do want you to be aware that Disney, you are going to be working a full-time job. You are required to be scheduled 30 hours a week at a minimum. Some locations you are going to get more than that, and some times of the year, if you're going during holidays, spring break, whenever you're working during those busier seasons, you could be scheduled much more than that. I think my busiest week was 4th of July week, and I got scheduled 62 hours that week. So just be aware that yes, you can take classes. You are not going to have a lot of free time if you take classes. A lot of people who do this program do take the semester off. Kind of a similar question along those lines is, what if I'm not getting credit for this on my university? So first, you want to talk to your university, go talk to your advisor, see if you are able to get credit for doing the program. But if you already know that because maybe the program has nothing to do with your major, you won't get credit for it. I personally did not get credit for my program because I'm a public relations major, and working at the Jungle Cruise really had nothing to do with PR. That is up to you if you feel really strongly that you want to do Disney and it's worth taking the semester off to do it. A lot of people do just take the semester off. My attitude toward it is like, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity, but really it's up to you if you think it's going to be worth it or not. Like I mentioned before, I really do think Disney looks good on a resume. So even though you're not working a job in your degree, you know, it's still Disney. Another question I saw is, what if under the rules it doesn't have a job that I want? Maybe there's a job that you really want to do at Disney and they don't offer it for the college program. And I can't really think of anything specific, but there might be locations that, you know, college program doesn't get placed. Like I know for Adventureland Liberty Square, they didn't put CPs at Hall of Presidents. So if you really wanted to work at Hall of Presidents, but you know you won't get that because they don't put CPs there, what do? I would suggest, if you really are passionate about working at that location, the Disney College program is a really great way for you to get your foot in the door at Disney. So if anything, it's just a great opportunity for you to go talk to those cast members, do some networking with Disney leaders, and then later figure out, how do I get there? Because even though you can't do it for the college program, when you go to apply for Disney later and figure out, this is how I get this job, you already have Disney on your resume and it looks better for you. Another question people ask is, how much money do you make? I was making $10 an hour as a CP. I have not heard that that has gone up. Honestly, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it for you. You are cheap labor for Disney. You are going to earn $10 an hour, which is okay for an internship. Like, don't get me wrong, it's a paid internship, it is full-time, so I'm not gonna pretend like it's great, but it's also not terrible. So another question I thought was great was, how much money should I take to the Disney College program? I definitely recommend saving up some money before you go. That first month that you are there, you are not going to do a lot of working. You're gonna have your first week, which is basically all training, information, and you don't do a lot of working the first month. So I would say definitely be saving. Make sure you have enough to sustain yourself for that first month, because it's going to take some time for you to start getting your first paycheck and really start getting hours at work. And also take into account that they are going to be charging your rent. I think, like I said, that housing fee that they take out, I believe that covers your first week of rent, but then the rest of it is still going to keep slowly coming out of your paycheck. So make sure you are saving up money, and then for that first month, and then after that it's up to you to figure out, how much am I making, and make sure you're not spending more than you are earning. Yeah. All right, guys, I think that is all I have for you. I know that this was a very long one, but thank you for bearing with it through me. I hope that this answered all of your questions about the Disney College Program, but of course, if it did not, then make sure you leave me a comment below and I will try my best to answer your question. There are plenty of ways to make sure that your questions get answered, because I know this application process is difficult, at times confusing, and it can drive people a little crazy, because it drove me crazy. But yes, I am so excited for all of you. I wish you happy applying, and I'm sending so much love and luck and pixie dust your way. Make sure if you have not checked out my other videos, you go back and watch those, because they are literally filled with tons of tips to help you through this process, and I want to make sure that you are prepared to rock your application. I cannot even begin to tell you guys how amazing the Disney College Program, what a great opportunity it was, and what a blessing it has been for me and my husband Daniel. So I sincerely hope that this is going to be your program, that your dreams are going to come true. And if you get in, please send me a message so I can congratulate you personally, because I am so happy and I'm so proud for each and every one of you. Hey friends, thank you so much for watching. I'm so excited to have you here on my channel, and don't forget to like this video, give me a big thumbs up. And if you want to get more videos about the Disney College Program, Disney content in general, go and hit that subscribe button. I am sending lots of luck and pixie dust your way through this entire process. Thank you guys so much for watching, and always remember, own your magic. Bye!